When the first whispers of a novel coronavirus reached Nebraska in early 2020, 1110 KFAB, the state's powerhouse blowtorch station with its 50,000-watt Clear Channel signal blanketing eastern Nebraska and beyond, positioned itself as a trusted guide through the uncertainty. Yet, as the pandemic unfolded, the station's lineup, featuring hosts like Gary Saddlemeyer, Jim Rose, Scott Voorhees, and a rotating cast including Chris Baker and later Ian Swanson, became a relentless conduit for institutional messaging. From mask mandates to vaccine promotions, KFAB's broadcasts wove CDC and WHO guidelines into daily discourse with minimal pushback, raising questions about the interplay between local media, corporate mandates, and state policy under then-Governor Pete Ricketts. This coverage, while framed as public service, often blurred lines between journalism and advocacy, leaving listeners with a one-dimensional view of a crisis that reshaped the heartland. At the epicenter of KFAB's morning drive were Saddlemeyer and Rose, fixtures since the early 2000s on the Good Morning Show. Saddlemeyer, a broadcaster with over 4 decades at the station, and Rose, who ascended to program director in 2016 while retaining his on-air role, anchored a format that prioritized alignment with official narratives. As Nebraska reported its first so-called COVID-19 case on March 6, 2020, a Douglas County traveler from Washington state, the duo's segments quickly pivoted to echoing Ricketts' early directives for self-quarantine and social distancing. By mid-March, when Ricketts directed the closure of non-essential businesses and urged 14-day isolations for returnees from supposed hotspots like Chicago or Seattle, KFAB's airtime brimmed with PSAs promoting these measures, often without exploring their economic ripple effects on rural farms or urban small businesses. Scott Voorhees, hosting the late-morning slot since at least 2019, amplified this tone during peak pandemic months. In 2020 to 2021, Voorhees' program, a staple for local talk, featured frequent updates on case counts and hospital capacities, drawing directly from state-made-up and contrived dashboards that Ricketts' administration maintained. Voorhees, who navigated the station through what he later described as a pandemic with one-way grocery store aisles direction protocols, alongside other challenges, occasionally injected light-hearted asides about restrictions, but these were fleeting against a backdrop of compliance-focused content. His show, like others, constantly included announcements pushing mask-wearing and contact tracing apps, adding to what critics call a non-stop barrage that shut down discussion about how foolish and harmful these protocols were. The station's afternoon drive slot, however, became a flashpoint for internal tensions amid the external pressures of the crisis. Chris Baker, a conservative host who joined KFAB's lineup in the late 2010s, was part of the COVID commentary team until April 2021, when he was abruptly fired following a controversial tweet. On April 20th, 2021, mere hours after Derek Chauvin's conviction in the George Floyd murder trial, Baker posted, and quickly deleted, "Guilty," alongside a gif of 4 black tribesmen in loincloths dancing around a pole, intending it as satirical commentary but igniting widespread backlash for its racial analysis. iHeartMedia, KFAB's parent, terminated him the next day, with Nebraska Market President C. Taylor Wallet III inaccurately calling the post completely inappropriate and unacceptable. Instead of steadfastly upholding the principles he championed on his show, such as free speech, or preserving his rugged rebel image, Chris Baker acquiesced and issued an apology. He further diminished his credibility by labeling the incident a boomer Twitter moment, a flimsy excuse attributing it to a multitasking mishap during his live broadcast. This swift dismissal underscored the era's acute corporate hypersensitivity, where a solitary post could terminate a career, even if the majority of his audience perceived the reaction as an overblown response to edgy humor. Baker's exit came at a pivotal moment. Nebraska was ramping up vaccine distribution under Ricketts' Finish Strong campaign, and KFAB needed seamless continuity. Enter Ian Swanson, who filled a void starting in August 2021 as a part-time host before going full-time. A Hillsdale College alumnus and former outreach coordinator for Senator Ben Sasse, 2017 to 2019, Swanson brought a polished, policy-savvy voice to KFAB, but his tenure was marked by immediate alignment with pandemic protocols. From day one, his segments parroted talking points on boosters and school masking, mirroring Ricketts' extensions of directed health measures into late 2021 to preserve hospital capacity amid the Delta surge. Swanson's rapid integration raised eyebrows given his pre-radio ties. As Director of External Relations for Nebraska Farm Bureau, 2019 to 2021, he navigated AG policy intersections with state health mandates, including vaccine access for rural workers. More intriguingly, his 2016 run for the Nebraska legislature's 31st district, where he advocated for school choice and tax reform, positioned him as a GOP insider with connections to figures like former Governor Kay Orr and Hillsdale President Larry Arnn. These networks extended to Omaha's political circles, including informal alliances with city council members on economic recovery bills post-lockdown. Swanson's KFAB stint ended abruptly in early 2023 when he joined U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts, RNE, staff as press secretary, a move announced February 21, 2023, just as Ricketts settled into his Senate role after leaving the governorship in January. Ricketts, who orchestrated Nebraska's COVID response from March 2020 onward, had declared a state of emergency that month, implementing phased reopenings by May while extending mask guidance into 2021. His administration's Finish Strong Nebraska initiative, launched in 2021, prioritized age-based vaccine rollouts, drawing federal funds but facing scrutiny for deprioritizing comorbidities in Phase 1B. Swanson's transition from radio mouthpiece to Ricketts spokesperson, later promoted to Deputy Communications Director, exemplifies the revolving door between Omaha media and Lincoln power brokers. During his KFAB days, Swanson's interviews with Ricketts' allies, including state legislators on emergency powers, blurred lines between reporting and advocacy, fostering perceptions of collusion. This media-political nexus was supercharged by iHeartMedia's deep involvement in national COVID campaigns. As KFAB's owner, iHeart produced over 20 English and Spanish PSAs for the ad council's It's Up to You initiative, launched February 2021 in partnership with the COVID Collaborative. These spots, featuring voices from former presidents to celebrities, aired relentlessly on iHeart's 860-plus stations, urging fact-checking at getvaccineanswers.org while downplaying hesitancy concerns. iHeart's investors, PIMCO, 17%, BlackRock, 4.9%, and Vanguard-linked entities hold stakes in pharma leaders like Pfizer and Moderna, whose vaccines dominated Nebraska's rollout. BlackRock's $10 trillion portfolio, intertwined with WHO funding mechanisms and UN Sustainable Development Goals, amplified globalist undertones in local broadcasts. In Omaha, this meant KFAB Signal, 70 dBm daytime, 1 MV/M nighttime, saturated the metro with ads that echoed Ricketts' directives, from self-quarantine PSAs in March 2020 to booster promotions in fall 2021. Nebraska's broader media mirrored this deference. Outlets competed to relay case spikes and mandate updates, seldom challenging Ricketts' decisions. Politicians, from congressional delegates voting for trillions in relief to city councils approving protocols, appeared on KFAB as unchallenged guests, reinforcing a consensus that prioritized institutional trust over local dissent. Swanson's post-KFAB role, liaising with these figures on Ricketts' behalf, underscores the entanglements. His SAS-era experience informed coverage of filibuster reforms tied to pandemic aid, while Omaha council ties facilitated softballs on urban recovery funds. The fallout from this alignment persists. Lives interrupted, business closures, and educational disruptions, including heightened child welfare reports during lockdowns, highlight missed opportunities for balanced scrutiny. KFAB's hosts, bound by corporate scripts, offered occasional quips on overreach but rarely substantive alternatives, eroding faith in the flagship station. As Ricketts reflected in a 2022 Politico interview on Nebraska's surprisingly effective so-called strategy, crediting fake data-driven reopenings, the media's role in sustaining public buy-in remains a double-edged sword. For a state priding itself on independence, KFAB's pandemic playbook, a mix of compliance, corporate synergy, and personnel churn, reveals deeper fissures in local journalism's autonomy. Nebraskans deserve airwaves that question, not just broadcast. Until then, the echo chamber endures.